Hello everyone, my name is Thomas Cecilia Jr. here, aka Mustached Tom, here to celebrate 150 subscribers as a milestone. Now, for those of you who don't know, a few videos ago, I said that if I did ever reach 150 subscribers as a milestone, I would indeed review Boku no Pico, which is what you see here. So, with that being said, even if I lose one subscriber after making said video, I will keep this video up so that it will be known that at least at one point that I did reach 150 as that milestone. So with that being said, let's dive right into it, but before the deep dive, I do want to make the obvious disclaimer that is even in the movie itself, that this is obviously a work of fiction, in that it does not depict real-world pedophilia, that it does not condone real-world pedophilia, and that the characters are not real, and that no one was harmed in the sex that happens in this movie, and all that stuff. So, this is an interesting one in terms of people catching on early YouTube, it becoming the meme of like, oh, Boku no Pico is like the best anime ever. I think it took over like Cory in the House of like being the best of everything, and then it sort of became like, oh, there's this obvious like thing here that we can make everyone watch and feel very uncomfortable doing and review or watch or whatever. So yes, there is that. Of course, this is a part of an OVA, a three-part OVA. I'll be covering only the first part. The second and third part will be held behind a bigger subscriber special / milestone, and I will talk to that degree later on after I assessed this work of fiction. So, in traditional sense, when I traditionally go over a movie, I recap things, and of course the recap of this is going to be a little bit more interesting in terms of the things that happen in it. Just of like, will I get demonetized? It won't really matter since I don't get paid anyways. I'm not a paid YouTuber. I don't have any Patreon supporters, so feel free to check out the links in the description before, or, you know, if you feel I am worthy of said Patreonage. Anyways, now that I've stalled for that amount of time, let's dig deep into this. So, I think I came across this little OVA, a bit ago, and I think I came across it on incident of just like wanting to check out various animes, and then that came across as like at the time a legit anime, and then clicking on it and then seeing the imagery and then getting that disclosure and then things happening. I think that's how it came about, and the meme of course took over. I want to say shortly after. I can't confirm that. And has been sort of, I want to say, probably even shortly after its creation, people were probably already starting to get in on this little joke. So definitely something that has been passed around a various amount of times. So, right out of the gate, right as we begin the movie, you as the audience will probably know what you're going to get yourself into as you see this young boy named Pico, in very either skimpy clothing or small amount of clothing or no clothing at all. So if it wasn't obvious that that was where it was going, it kind of gives you the brunt of like, this is gonna involve this young person in the least amount of clothing possible, or if there are clothing parts, there are in the feminine realm, more or less. As we see, there seems to be some sort of glimpse of like a sex scene between the two of them, and then it gives a notice after the fact. I think it probably would have been even safer to start off with that notice, if I didn't notice that before. So anyways, it continues on, and it seems to be some sort of flashback, question mark. And that is the thing, is that, I don't know if this is also trying to tell a compelling story. I highly doubt it. It does seem to be benchmarked with, like, set up to this sex scene, and then set up to next sex scene, and then set up to next sex scene, with very little actual, like, story or progression or character development. There seems to be where, I think in part of the meme is like saying, oh, but it's so deep in story and all that stuff, and getting people in on it. So we start off, or after that little intro, we see this man, Mokon, as he's referred to as in this little thing. He's chilling about at the beach area, checking out these women's, and we cut back to him after looking at the women's. He's looking at this telescope, so he's chilling about, looking about what's going on in the world of this beach, and we see one Pico who's already not dressed in this beach area, but he runs out of money. He's already like drawn in by vision alone. I don't know if the beginning was supposed to imply that they already were together, but I assume this is like, that little part at the beginning is like something they did later on, because later on in the movie, or this OVA, Pico claims to have that part be his first time in this whole situation. So anyways, Pico turns, I think it's implied once again that he sees him, question mark, but then he vanishes. So Mokon, we cut to him going to this little store, this baby store, where we meet Pico's grandpa, this old man who's just like, oh, you should do whatever. So Pico's serving this man in his little serving dress. I guess everyone's fine with that. I guess that's attire, question mark? I don't know. Anyway, so the man orders the usual, implying that he has visited this establishment before, and this grandpa character tells them to hang out with each other, so I guess he's totally fine with all this going down. Or at least he's probably not even aware of what's going down. So they're holding hands, and we learn his real name is Taimatsu, the Mokon guy, but I'll just continue to call him Mokon, because that's what he's more referred to as in this little thing. So it seems that there's, again, some sort of... They seem to sort of know each other, again, very briefly. So anyways... Pico decides to check out this little telescope thing, and Mokon helps him up, and we're already getting some deep passions as he gives a little kiss, probably unannounced, to Pico. So we cut to them in the car, and this is where we get the full-blown thing going on of like, okay, he's gonna address him, okay, he's gonna kiss him, okay, and sex. and while also holding up ice cream as like this sort of weird like just do this thing and don't get the whatever. Um, but that doesn't really work out too well, even though that the other sex stuff is happening. Um, and I think they tried to play the comedy of Boy having reached the climax to its top priority of as it is able to reach the top of the car that they are in. So, anyways, after that little bit, we cut to Pico at work. Bokan picks him up. It's a rainy day. They both get wet. Again, as you can see, I'm describing things that are just happening. Like, this is what happens. This is what happens. This is what happens. There's not really a lot of, again, character development or character in general. So anyways, Pico baths up in the bath. Mokan bought him like more feminine clothes because I guess he just assumed that Pico would admire more female clothes, but he seems to not be in total agreement with that. But it leads to, it doesn't really matter, it ends up just leading into the second sex scene of, it going the other way of Pico leading on and doing more things. So yeah, there's quite a bit of sex here. And I'll skip over these explicit details of, I'll just say the sex happens throughout this, just to keep it, concise. So anyways, so after they are done, Pico asks this random question of what Bokan thinks of him as, like, this, in this situation. When he is unable to respond, that being Bokan is unable to respond, Pico runs off upset. So, this goes into this weird tangent where Pico thinks he needs to cut off his long hair and wear more male clothes to establish, like, oh, you only picked up on me because of the female aspects, and I don't know, it doesn't really go into too much detail even in that aspect. So anyways, they end up, like, Bokan, like, finally finds him after some walking around this otherwise empty world, I guess I'll call it. Except that one grandpa and the two scenes that he's in. But other than that, the world is empty. So they end up, like, walking home to the same home. I guess they just live together now, question mark? I don't know. At any rate, they end up, like, splashing themselves at the beach. Pico takes off his clothes to, like, dry off, and of course that leads to Bokan getting all worked up. So we all know where this is going. They're out on the beach. One of them's already naked. The other guy gets naked. The sex obviously happens once more, with several positions once more happening, and the kissing and the big climaxes. And that is about it in terms of what this little OVA has to offer. And we get a little Pico at the end there, just looking directly at the camera, so I guess to the audience, and just saying, I love you. And then we get a bunch of end credit stuff where we see more of either feminine dressing or no dressing at all with the Pico. And that is Boku no Pico in a nutshell, in terms of that. And of course I have said that there's not a lot of plot, not a lot of character, because this is, as I stated once before. Obviously, just more of a, like, this is just an excuse to have two fictional characters have sex. One of them happens to be a kid, one of them is older. Scenario where they lead into that and not really bother, like, doing much about it. It's just, how do we get to next location? How do we set that up bare minimum style and doing that? And of course, the meme has taken over of, like, but it's so good though, and tricking people into, like, going, oh, but it's between two male characters, obviously, and one's a kid, and haha, gotcha. I don't know. It does seem a bit pointless when when you think about it at the end of the day, but I don't know. So yeah, so I did say that there were two more parts to this, and there is Pico X Chico. I don't know if there's an official title, but that's the thing that I see when I look at it. And you know, I did say that it would require a new milestone, so I did want to establish that before I give this some sort of score question mark. So the next milestone, I figured I want to double down on my double down, and since I already reached the 150, instead of saying like 300, which would be like if I just did 150 plus 150, you know, I figured since it's a second part that I would double that, so 600. That's right, at 600 subscribers, I will confirm it right here, right now, I will do the sequel, Pico X Chico. So that is only going to happen if I reach 600. I'm not going to do it at any other point. So it might not ever happen, because I don't think I'll ever reach 600 subscribers. And don't even get me started on the third one. But we'll reach that bridge probably never. We'll see. So in terms of grading this, I'm pretty sure you probably already know where I'm going to go, because I prioritize story and I prioritize character. So when those things are severely lacking, I have to go against the meme. I have to say this lacks those two things, and it is an obvious setup for just, like, excuse of just to make this thing. And, you know, I've never been a fan of that, even if this was outside characters having sex, if it was just like two characters hanging out or whatever, and that was all there was to it. And it's just setup after setup without any character, you know, the characters actually becoming characters or any story. You know, it would run into the exact same problems without the exception of sex, obviously. So that in turn goes into a score of, well, I guess it's well animated, which is something I don't usually even talk about in terms of, like, that sort of stuff. You know, I usually prioritize story and characters and stuff of that nature. So, you know, for lack of better term, take that for what it's worth. I don't know. I don't even know what to score this. I suppose there's like this little point of like character getting upset, but again, there's not much of a dive into what is actually happening. They definitely rush that part and just get into like, oh, but they're just gonna make up now and everything's totally gonna be fine because we need to get to the next section of sex. And, you know, if you're gonna create an OVA, if you're gonna put that branding over it, I suppose, I would expect a little bit more story. You know, if you're just gonna make a porn, I don't see why it wouldn't just be established as that. I think the description, it has been a while. I don't know if the description just says that, like, this is an erotic story, question mark. But then that would imply that there is a story to the erotic part. So even that would be a little bit flimsy of an excuse, I feel. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'll give it a very low score of, 2 out of 10. I think that that's the best I can give it, in terms of what I usually am looking for, in terms of just, again, strictly adhering to story and character, being what I prioritize when I review something. That is where I have to land in terms of that. So, there it is. That is done and done. And as I wrap up, I do want to once again thank everyone who has subscribed to me. It has been a wondrous near 5-year adventure to get to just 150. I know a lot of people get a lot higher a lot sooner these days. And you know, however, whatever method they use, let them do it that way. Whatever, I don't really care if, you know, if they're buying subscribers, or if a lot of people are telling other people to check out their channels, or however they're going about it, doing it. Maybe they just got lucky. You know, let them have their way. Whatever, I don't really care. You know, I built this channel on being proud of being a hybrid channel, proud of doing both Let's Plays and movie reviews, because I have heard time and time again of people saying that when you diversify your channel, it makes it a lot harder for YouTube itself to give you that, you know, that oomph, that push that that YouTube would often give. So I'm really grateful that I was even able to get to 100, let alone 150, and I do look forward to, if it ever blows up beyond that, you know, if it ever does come to a day where I have to review the second part, I'll be more than happy to, because I did promise it, and I am a person that keeps my promises. So, with all of that being said, with the grade given out, with my little thank you at the end, I would love to just end it out as I usually do. So, if you enjoyed this movie review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head you over to my Discord server, the other to my Patreon page. Any donations are greatly appreciated. And until next time, everyone, bye-bye!